ఇంటర్మీడియట్ విద్యారంగంలో అగ్రగామి మన NSR ఇంపల్స్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్. ఐఐటి జేఈఈ అయినా నీట్ అయినా తిరుగులేని విద్యా సంస్థ NSR ఇంపల్స్.
Transport in plants. Last class we discussed about the scientist J.C. Bose, Jagadish Chandra Bose, who is referred as what? A father of Indian plant physiology. Father of Indian plant physiology. So we discussed about Jagadish Chandra Bose, who is referred as the father of Indian plant physiology. Physiology, we talk about physiological functions. So we discussed about like the instruments what are being designed by J.C. Bose, like coherer, crescograph, pulsating theory and all that, right. Now let us continue with the transport in plants. In transport in plants, majorly we talk about transport of water. So if you want to speak about transport of water, transport in plants takes care of transportation of water. Okay, so what exactly is the meaning of the statement, I will let you know. But before that, when transportation of water has to take place within the plants means, first of all, for the plants, where do they get water? They get water from soil. Right. So we all know it very well. The plants, they get water from the soil. So in soil, let us see the available forms of water. So let me write available forms of soil water. Available forms of soil water. So in this case, what are the different forms of availability of water in the soil if you take, or the types of soil water? Sometimes you can take the heading types of soil water. So we can take all together, we have 4 types. First one is runoff water or runaway water. What is the first source? Runoff water, or we find what is called runaway water. So when you take runoff water or runaway water, so it is nothing but surface movement of water, runoff water. Generally the source is nothing but rainfall. So whenever rainfall is occurring, generally water moves from one place to other place. For example, if you take this is the mountain, so automatically the water movement occurs from high region to low region. So when water is moving, some water percolates down, some amount of water percolates down, means goes into the deeper layers of the soil. Rest of the water, it moves from one place to other place. It is nothing but runoff water, or we call surface water. We call runoff water or surface water. So surface water is the one which causes, generally you know, it causes soil erosion. It causes soil erosion. What is soil erosion here? Removal of outer layer of the soil. It's called soil erosion. What is soil erosion? Removal of outer layers of the soil. It's called soil erosion. Why we are talking about soil erosion? When water is moving, it removes the outermost layer of the soil. Itself is called as soil erosion. Now this particular water, it's not available for plants. It's not available for plants. Transportation or the movement of water is happening, but this particular water is not available for plants. So this water is not available for plants. Plants cannot make use of surface water or runoff water. Second one, we can take what is called as groundwater, or we can take gravitational water. Gravitational water, or we can take what is called groundwater. Gravitational water, or we can take groundwater. Now you know that as I told you, some water percolates down here. So if this is a layer of the soil, the water, this is a soil layers, the water stores at somewhere at the deeper layers of the soil. That water itself is called as groundwater. So this is the layers of the soil. When water is moving like this, water percolates down, it penetrates into the deeper layers of the soil. As a result, the upper layer contains the plants, so even this water is not available for plants. What's the meaning of this? As you know, surface runoff water from one place to other place. As a result, plants cannot make use of runoff water. Similarly, what happens here? Gravitational water or groundwater. That means water is penetrating into the deeper layers of the soil and it forms groundwater. It stores at some layers of soil. It forms what is called groundwater, and upper layers of the soil cannot store this water. As a result, even gravitational water is not available for plants. Next, another form of water is nothing but, the third one is hygroscopic water. What's the meaning of hygroscopic water here? Suppose for example, if you take, these are nothing but soil particles. These are nothing but soil particles. In between soil particles, you find some water. Now, in between soil particles, you find some water. Now, this is nothing but soil particle. In between soil particle, the water held tightly between soil particles. Water held tightly between soil particles. Why this is water? What you can see there, this is nothing but water. This water is held tightly between soil particles. It's because of so cohesive and adhesive forces. Why it's happening? It's because of, I am writing here, due to cohesive and adhesive forces. Due to cohesive and adhesive forces. That means water held so tightly between two particles. Between two soil particles, water is held so tightly, and this is what, because of cohesive and adhesive forces. Cohesive force is nothing but surface force. What is the meaning of this? We say between two soil particles, the amount of water what is here, this is nothing but a surface force here, that is called cohesive. One second. So here between two soil particles, the force what is existing here, it's called cohesive force. Between two soil particles, the force what is existing here, it's called cohesive force. What is adhesive force here? On the surface, this is soil. On the surface, what the force exists is called adhesive force. Okay. So here between two soil particles, the force what exists between two soil particles is called cohesive force, and the force between soil surface and the water, it's called adhesive force. So this happens because of cohesive force and adhesive force. This happens because of cohesive force and adhesive force. Water is tightly held between two soil particles, As a result, what happened? Even this water not available for plants. Even this water also not available for plants. Okay, not available for plants. Next is, what you find here is capillary water. What do we find? Capillary water. Now, in between soil particles, thin narrow capillary tubes. The space between soil particles, you find a small capillary tubes. So, these are called narrow capillary tubes. What do we call them? Narrow capillary tubes. These narrow capillary tubes are filled with water. Thin narrow capillary tubes are filled with water. They are called narrow capillary tubes. This is water is called capillary water. This is a water available for plants. This is a water available for plants. So, altogether we find 4 forms of water. What are they? Runoff water, gravitational water or groundwater. Third one is hygroscopic water. Fourth one is capillary water. So, in all these forms, what is runoff? You know it very well. Water keeps moving from one place to other place. It's called runoff water, and this water is not available for plants. Why? Because some water goes from one place to other place, keeps moving, other water percolates down. So, runoff water is not available for plants. Next is gravitational water or groundwater. This is runoff going, and this water penetrates down and goes to the deeper layers of the soil. There it accumulates in the form of groundwater. As it goes very deeper layers of the soil, even this water is not available for the plants. So, that is gravitational water, or we call groundwater. Next is, what do we find here is hygroscopic water. Even this is not available. Why? Because between two soil particles, water held tightly between soil particles because of cohesive and adhesive forces. What is cohesive force here? Between two soil particles, this is one soil particle, this is one soil particle. Between two soil particles, the force what is there, it's called cohesive force. And soil particle and between water, the force what exists here, it's called adhesive force. Because of cohesive and adhesive forces, water is held so tightly so that plants cannot make use of even hygroscopic water. Remember one thing, runoff water is not available for plants. Gravitational water is not available for plants. Hygroscopic water is not available for plants. Then only water which is available for plants is capillary water. What is capillary water? Thin narrow tubes, narrow spaces which are present between two soil particles are called capillary tubes, and this is the only water available for plants. So, these are nothing but altogether types of soil water. Altogether there are 4 types of soil water. Now, what we can say now, the total amount of water what is present in the soil, it's called holard. What do we say? Total amount of water exists in soil, present in soil, it is called holard. In that, amount of water taken by plants, or we can write absorbed by plants, is called crescent. This is referred to H, this is referred to C. Right? And then the amount of water left in the soil, or you can write remaining amount of water. Remaining amount of water present in soil, it is called as Icard. Right? What do we say here? Total amount of water present in the soil is called holard. For example, if you say this is nothing but layers of soil, maybe the soil has total amount of water altogether 10 liters. So what you can write? Holard is equal to 10 liters. Holard is equal to 10 liters. In that, the amount of water utilized by plants, the amount of water taken by plants, let us take 4 liters. So what you say? Crescent is 4 liters. Then the remaining amount of water, after absorbing 4 liters of water by the plant, the remaining water left in the soil, let us take 6 liters. Then Icard is equal to 6 liters. So what do we say? Holard is equal to crescent plus Icard. What do we say? Holard is equal to crescent plus Icard. What is holard? Total amount of water present in the soil. What is the total water present in this particular area? In this total area, total amount of water present is 10 liters. Total amount of the water present is nothing but how much? 10 liters. In this 10 liters, what is crescent? Crescent is amount of water absorbed by plants. Out of the 10 liters here, 4 liters of water absorbed by plants. 4 liters of water absorbed by the plant. So this 4 liters of water, what is absorbed by the plant? It is called crescent. After absorption of water by the plants, the amount of water left or present in the soil, it is called Icard. What is the total amount of water after absorption of water by the plants? The remaining water, left out water present in the soil, it is called Icard. So what do we say here? Holard is total water, holard is equal to crescent means water absorbed by the plant, and Icard is left out water, remaining water. So if the total water is 10 liters, then absorbed water by the plant is 4 liters and Icard left out water is nothing but what? 6 liters. So altogether, suppose if you want to know how much water is absorbed by the plants, crescent you want to calculate, which is equivalent to holard minus Icard. Similarly, if you want to calculate how much water is left in the soil, Icard is equal to holard minus crescent. So accordingly, you have to look for what we call here the calculation of the total water present in case of what you call in case of groundwater. So once again I will tell you, total amount of water present in the soil, it is called holard. So we call this is holard. Amount of water absorbed by the plant is crescent, and the water left out in the soil, it is called Icard. Right. So here what you say, holard is equal to crescent plus Icard. What is holard? Total water, and crescent is water taken by the plant. Icard is remaining water what is being left out. According to the calculation, you have to find out what we find. Crescent is equal to holard minus ecard. Ecard if you want to calculate, holard minus crescent, and the holard if you want to calculate, take the total amount of water absorbed by the plant and the left out water. Then you will come to know total water. So, hydrological or hydraulic engineers especially, they will come to know where exactly water exists in the soil. Of course, nowadays you know satellite technology and all that. Sitting at one corner we can clearly find out what type of minerals exist in soil, where groundwater is flowing, from where to where it is flowing, everything we can get the data sitting at one place using satellite technology. So, generally hydraulic engineer will find in the soil which is the place where groundwater is available. So, with the data today we can calculate what is the total amount of water, holard. In that what is the water is taken by the plants we can calculate called crescent, and how much water left after absorption of water by the plant is called ecard. Everything can be calculated and analyzed today based upon the technology what's been identified. So, this is what is nothing but groundwater. This is nothing but availability of water in the soil. Let us continue further here. Transportation of water. In plants, what's happening here is nothing but transportation of water. As we have discussed for the last class, transportation of water, when water is getting transported from one place to other place, what are the substances it's been carrying? It's carrying inorganic substances and organic substances, along with that salts, plant growth regulators, including mineral nutrients, So, we discussed for the last class, these are the things which we have to study. Along with the water, what are moving, what are getting transported means, along with water, inorganic, organic, mineral nutrients, salts, plant growth regulators, all are getting transported from one place to other place, right. So, here transportation of water we have to discuss how it will happen. For example, you take the plant, right. So, transportation of water may occur for short distance, or the transportation of water may occur for long distance. Short distance transport, and we take long distance transport. Transportation of water, what's happening here is short distance transport or long distance transport. What is short distance transport here? Cell to cell. This is one plant cell, this is another plant cell. So, here plant cell to cell, one cell to other cell. So, this is a short distance transport. It occurs by cytoplasmic streaming. It occurs by cytoplasmic streaming or by the method called diffusion. We will discuss what are they. Similarly, long distance transport, it is called translocation. It occurs by, so what we say, vascular tissues. What are these vascular tissues here? They are nothing but what? Xylem and phloem. What you find here? Xylem, and what we find here is phloem. Okay, so what do we find here? Translocation occurs by vascular tissues. What are these vascular tissues? Vascular tissues are nothing but xylem and phloem. Right, xylem here, it conducts water. Xylem conducts water. Phloem is the one which conducts food. Conducts food. What do we find here? So here what's happening? Transportation of water is happening. So from where to where they are going? They are going from down. Of course roots will absorb water. Roots are the ones which absorb water, no doubt. When roots absorb water here, they have to move from one place of the plant to another place. So what's happening here? There is a transportation of water is taking place. There is a movement of water. Later we will discuss how water is moving in upward direction. We will discuss later. But here how transportation of water is happening means short distance transport, that means from very small distance. So here transportation occurs for very small distance. How small distance transportation occurs? What is small distance? What is short distance? From one cell to other cell. From one cell to neighbor cell. How do you move from your place of the house to the neighbor house? How do you move? Simply you open the gate, you will go to the other neighbor house, open the gate, enters inside. Similarly, it opens its gate called cell membrane and cell wall and enters into next cell. So from cell to cell movement itself is called a short distance transport. How do you think it takes place here? It occurs by cytoplasmic streaming. What's the meaning of cytoplasmic streaming here? Suppose here one cell is fully filled. This cell is fully filled here. So what happens within the cytoplasm? Cytoplasm will make the movement. It pushes the water and minerals to the next neighbor cell. So who is playing a vital role here? Cytoplasm. How cytoplasm pushes the component to next neighbor cell? Because cytoplasm is not a stable component. Cytoplasm it's keep moving from one place to other cell. Cytoplasm it's keep moving from one place to other cell. It shows clockwise rotations in some cells. It shows anti-clockwise rotations in other cell. It's keep moving within the cell. Suppose if I take one plant cell, so here if I take this cell, it's keep moving from one place to other cell like this, another cell like this. Keeps moving either in this direction or it's keep moving in another direction. Clockwise direction or anti-clockwise direction. Who is moving here? Cytoplasm is moving. When it is moving in this direction, when cell is fully filled, it pushes all the extra nutrients and water, get to the entry and throws or pushes outward. As this happens due to cytoplasm movement, it's called cytoplasmic streaming. I repeat again. Within the cell, cytoplasm is not constantly stick on to one place. Cytoplasm keeps moving from one place to other place, like how I am moving from one place to other place. If I am the cytoplasm, when I am moving like this, excess amount of water and minerals whatever I find, I will take along with me and pushes outside. Okay, so cytoplasm, it's keep moving maybe in clockwise direction or in anti-clockwise direction within the cell. So cytoplasm exhibits movement. It moves from one place of the cell to other place of the cell. When it is moving in clockwise direction, it takes all the water and minerals, whatever it comes, it takes along with that and pushes outside the cell, so that all water and minerals goes to the next neighbor cell. That is what it's called cytoplasmic streaming. What do you call that? Cytoplasmic streaming. Then what is nothing but diffusion? We'll start with the diffusion. Movement from one cell to other cell also happens by diffusion. We are going to start with this. We'll start with this, right? We will see now what is this. So, short distance transport occurs by cytoplasmic streaming or by diffusion. Coming to long distance transport, here long distance transport itself is called translocation. What do you call long distance transport? Long distance transport itself is called translocation. So, when water is moving across a long distance from here to here, such a long distance when it is moving, such a movement pathway it is called translocation. So, guys, so frequently we make use of the terminology called translocation. Try to remember the terminology translocation. What is translocation? The movement for a longer distance, maybe from the base or the base of the root or base of the stem to the tip of the leaf. Such a long distance of transportation of water and minerals is called, the pathway is translocation. How it occurs? Remember, it occurs by vascular tissues. Who are the vascular tissues? You people know very well. What are they? Xylem and phloem. What xylem will do? Xylem conducts water, and what about the phloem? Phloem conducts the food. Now, further differentiation if you want to make very clearly, in anatomy you studied xylem components, in phloem you studied phloem components, but what is very important thing is, better you can note down here only, xylem transportation occurs unidirectional. I will repeat this point again in the middle of the lesson, don't worry. Within the xylem, transportation is always unidirectional. It goes in one direction. It is called unidirectional. Transportation in phloem, it is said to be bidirectional. So, how do you can look at these parameters? For example, I am talking about this part here. If this is a xylem, the movement is always unidirectional. It goes upward direction like this. It is unidirectional. Suppose if you talk about the phloem, I am drawing here phloem. Within the phloem, what happens? Food will be moving in bidirectional like this. Food will be going up and coming down. This is bidirectional. Food get transported from leaf to root through stem, or from root or the basal part of the stem to upper part of the leaf through phloem. So, within the xylem, transportation of water, I am writing here so clearly, transportation of water within the xylem is always unidirectional. Transportation of food within the phloem, it is bidirectional. It is like this. Okay, then you may get a small question in your young mind. Does you think always unidirectional and about water? Does you think always bidirectional about food? That means only these two directions will happen? No. Now, if you look at, in some cases if you take some inorganic and organic minerals, some inorganic and organic minerals, some of the minerals, they undergo multi-directional movement. They undergo multi-directional movement. What's the meaning here? What is the meaning of that? They move randomly here and there. What is the meaning of moving randomly here and there? Some of the organic inorganic particles, they will be keep moving in different directions. They will be keep moving in different directions. As they feel like, they will be keeping in different directions. So, this is multi-directional movement of molecule, multi-directional movement of minerals. Now, hopefully got it, right. So, I repeat again. Within the plant, cell to cell, it is called short distance transport for a smaller distance, occurs by cytoplasmic streaming or by diffusion. Cytoplasmic streaming means cytoplasm maybe it keep moving in either in clockwise direction or in anti-clockwise direction. When it is keep moving from one place to other cell, it takes all the components and pushes at one corner. It takes all the nutrients and minerals. whatever is extra after filling the cell, it pushes to one direction and goes to next neighbor cell. Such a small movement from one cell to other cell is said to be cytoplasmic streaming, and thus also occurs by diffusion. So, we discuss cytoplasmic streaming here. What's exactly meaning of this? Cytoplasm is involved in movement of minerals. Then what is diffusion? We will discuss this. This is what we have to start with the lesson. Then go with long distance transport. Long distance from where to where? From the base of the stem till the tip of the leaf. You know, I have drawn the plant so small here to look. Right, in the board I have drawn the plant, so small it looks, but you know, in our environment you find huge plants. Such a long distance from the base of the stem to the tip of the leaf, the water and minerals has to get transported. They have to get transported. Then such process is called translocation. What is translocation? Long distance transport of water and minerals is called translocation. Don't worry, we will get back to translocation once again. But basically look at how translocation occurs means it occurs by vascular tissues. Right. How translocation occurs? Occurs by vascular tissues. What are they? Conducting tissues. You know very well, you people know very well, xylem and phloem. Guys, make sure that you get time now, enough time, plan accordingly your schedule and try to do your best to the first year preparation. You should be thorough with the first year preparation because here and there we will get first year basics. If you are thorough with the first year basics, most of the concepts you can hold in your little hand. Right, make sure that you keep one timetable and try to revise the first year concepts. If you are thorough with the first year concept, 50% of botany biology preparation is done. Okay, botany first year and zoology first year, if you can complete, if you are so master of the first year NCERT book, with the first year syllabus, if you are so thorough, you are perfect with 50% of biology preparation. Right. So, you already studied xylem components, you studied about phloem components. What are we talking about here? In this xylem, what is getting transported? There is a conduction of water. In this phloem, what is getting transported? There is a conduction of food. How food direction, how water direction exists here? In xylem, conduction of water always unidirectional. That means from where to where? From the base of the stem, that is from the root to the tip of the leaf. In the xylem, transportation of water occurs in unidirectional, meaning one direction. It always unidirectional. Very important point you have to remember. We are discussing in transport in plants. In anatomy, you studied what is xylem, what are the components of xylem. But here what you are discussing, simple word, extra word you have to remember. The transportation of water is unidirectional. Similarly, you people well know about phloem components. You know that phloem conducts food, but how it conducts means you have to remember the word in transport in plants is bidirectional. What is bidirectional? Food is going up and coming down, going up and coming down. Means here from the basal part of the stem to upper parts of the leaves, the food is getting exported. From the upper branches, upper leaves to the basal branches, food is getting translocated. So, here is said to be bidirectional. Then by understanding this, you will get a picture in your young mind saying that okay, water is going up, food is going up and down. Does you think only these two directions will happen? No. So, here you have to note down the point. Some inorganic and organic minerals, they show multi-directional movement, meaning they keep moving randomly. So, here in this case, apart from this water going upward in unidirection, food in bidirectional, you can see clearly in the picture, there is some minerals and molecules, they keep randomly moving here up and down to the side and side, up and down in different directions. Such random movement is nothing but multi-directional movement. See, unidirection happens with water, bidirection with food, and some organic inorganic molecules keep moving randomly to all directions. This is multi-directional movement of minerals. Right. Now, coming to the processes, what are the processes which are involved in transportation of water? Let us discuss with that. I hope you got the point that. So, here not only unidirectional and bidirectional, you have understood that minerals may also undergo by multidirectional movement. Now, on the whole chapter, you know, just now you studied water carries what, means you studied organic compounds, inorganic compounds, plant growth regulators, salts, and including what, different type of minerals. How do they get transported? By different processes. So, here let me write the processes for transportation of water, processes for transportation of water. So, this is nothing but, let us see which are the different processes takes place for the movement of water from lower part of the base of the stem to upper part of the leaves. So, different processes takes and plays very important role. What are they? Let us make a list here. So, here they will be keep moving, maybe by the process called by diffusion or by facilitated diffusion, by facilitated diffusion. Then we find passive transport. Let me write here passive, very clear. Passive transport. Passive transport again have three types: symport, antiport, and uniport. Then we find active transport. Then we can study osmosis, and again once again we are going to discuss what is translocation. Then we are going to study the phenomena called transpiration. That is nothing but overall part of the lesson. If you complete these all processes, study of all the processes, then that is nothing but the total chapter of transport in plants. So, let us study now. Transport of water occurs by different processes at different pathways. What are the different processes which plays a vital role within the plant for the transportation of water? So, we have different pathways. What are they? Let us discuss one by one. Diffusion, facilitated diffusion, passive transport. It is of three types. They are nothing but symport, antiport, and uniport. Active transport, then osmosis, translocation, and finally transpiration. These all are nothing but the different processes. Now, if we can complete all these processes, then the total chapter gets completed. So, these are the nothing but the scenario which we have to discuss. Let us start discussing one by one. So, what is the first phenomena we have to start to discuss? What is the first pathway to start to discuss here? It is nothing but diffusion. Then after diffusion, you have to go with facilitated diffusion, and all the phenomenons one by one we have to go for the study. Then you will come to know many phenomenons. Now, let us start with what is the first one? Diffusion, right?